Even when I've left, I do right by you. I'll be your everything, your blue sky. I go to war, I'll fight. Damn right. Even when I've left, I do right by you. I'll be your everything.
All right, here we go. Welcome back to the Professional Stepdad Show. I am your host, Franco Zavala. Thank you very much for joining me. This is episode 98 on the road to 100. Like always, if you have not, please like, subscribe, share to the show. Hit that notification button. Make sure that you're checking out the website, theprofessionalstepdad.com. Follow us on Instagram, SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, YouTube show, of course, for upcoming shows, for upcoming guests, and for an all around information on what we're going to be doing with the show and how we're going to be traveling and talking to stepdads all around the nation. Episode 98. I gotta be honest with you guys. It has not always been the easiest task to sit down and discuss whether my life or questions asked or things that are going on. Because just like you, I'm going through my ups, going through my downs, and it's like the different seasons, right? The pendulum swings both ways. It's not always going to be perfect. It's not always happy. It's not all smiles and love all the time. It's a frustrating journey, especially if you are consistently reminding yourself of your faults, consistently reminding yourself of your doubts that you have about what kind of stepdad you want to be, what kind of man you want to be, leader, husband, etc. So today's episode is really going to be focused on just you. And I just wanted to speak to each and every one of you today. And I wanted to tell you that everything that's happening that seems to be going against you, no matter what season you're in, no matter what year you might be in, everything that's happening is not your fault. It is not. The way you're responding and reacting to your kids or to your spouse or to your family members or your self-talk, it's not your fault. We have a tendency as men to take blame for the things that are going wrong or the things that aren't going our way. And we take this blame and we internalize it and we never express it outwards, and that leads to depression. And depression is not something to be toyed with. It's not something to be played with. Depression is anger turned inwards. What are you angry at? Anger that is not fully expressed outwardly. Therefore, you internalize it and it boils up and it eats at you. It eats at your soul. It eats at your confidence. It eats at your spirit. But you need to know that it's not your fault. Your default system, your operating system, which is your habits, routines, how you were raised, where you were raised, the manner of which you were raised, meaning like, were you raised by just a mom, just a dad? Maybe you're an orphan. Maybe you grew up in and out of homes. I don't know. But I do know it's not your fault. That is not the same thing as not taking responsibility. It's just not your fault. You have to stop blaming yourself for everything. You have to stop cutting yourself down, and you have to stop thinking negatively about the way you were parenting or the way you were carrying yourself within your blended family. It is not your fault that you were raised a certain way. It is not your fault that your parents were alcoholics or drug addicts. It is not your fault that you were hit extremely hard or beaten as a kid. It is not your fault that you were abandoned as a teenager or a young kid to the point where you didn't think anybody wanted you. It is not your fault that you react certain ways when it comes to voice inflection, the way the kids respond or how they roll their eyes or how they talk to you or how your spouse and you talk to one another and you feel like you're being attacked. That's not your fault. It's not. It is, however, your responsibility to work on yourself each and every day to correct the operating system. Think about it like this. If everyone owns a computer, you own a computer, and if a virus hits and you try to fix the virus on your own without knowing what you're doing, chances are you're just going to make it worse. And when you make things worse, it's going to seem like it's a lot bigger of a problem than it probably is. So your operating system that you have within your mind, the way you think, how you act, how you respond, how you treat yourself, how you treat others, your operating system, if it's broken, if it has a virus in it, which is negative self-talk, negative thinking, aggression, anger, pain that you've never dealt with from your childhood, or maybe it's your inadequacies as a man to fulfill the needs of those around you because you're constantly second guessing everything that you do. That's your operating system. That's who you were before you listened to this episode. Can you change it? Yeah, you can. Can you be better? Of course you can. Does it take time and work? Absolutely. Do you need to be working on it each and every day? 100%. Is it always going to be just a cakewalk and you're going to figure it out and you're going to change your operating system and that virus is going to be gone? No, that's not how it works. If you don't have a security system within your computer and you fix a virus and the virus can consistently break through the firewall, and again, mind you, I might be messing some of these terms up here because I'm not a computer guy, but if your firewall is not properly protected or set up, however you want to say that, the virus can find its way back in many different forms. Same way goes with our parenting, with the way we treat our loved ones, the way we are as a father, the way we are as a leader, the way we are at work. If we are not constantly upgrading, updating, checking, and looking into our operating system, which is our thoughts and our mind, then the virus will stay. It might lay dormant for a minute where we don't think it's there anymore, but trust me, it will show up on a random Thursday and it will take you down. And it'll stop your descent into greatness as a stepdad. You have to change the operating system. And that starts with, guys, accepting the fact that it's not your fault. It's not your fault how everything turned out in your life. It's not your fault you find yourself in a position where you're stuck or you don't feel good enough or you don't feel valued enough or needed. It's not your fault. It is your responsibility, however, to fix it. Meaning it is your responsibility to work on it. It is your responsibility to speak to your partner, communicate, open up the lines of communication, men. Open up the lines of communication and speak your mind. You have to be willing to be vulnerable in order to get stronger. That is absolutely the only way to do it. It is not your fault that you've had failed marriages or relationships up until this point. It is not your fault. It's just because you tried to handle situations in your past using an old operating system, and that operating system spit out the exact results that you consistently get each and every time you try to do something big or you try to go after something you want. And then you start to think, wow, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just not good enough, or maybe I'm just not supposed to be here, or maybe I'm not smart enough. And all that is fucking fine if you want to think that for a second, but it's all bullshit. None of that represents who you are now. If you want to move forward, if you want to progressively move forward, strengthen your family, your relationships, your values, your worries, your doubts and fears need to go away. And you have to remember that none of this is your fault. It is your responsibility to fix it. It is your responsibility to understand that, yes, it's not your fault. Does it still exist? Do all those negative thoughts and habits still exist? Yes. Is it your fault? No, because all that shit was downloaded into your operating system. Your job, your responsibility is to identify these poisons, these viruses, and to each and every day work on getting them the fuck out of there. That's it. And if you can do this, you will find that everything that you thought was big and huge when it comes to problems are going to be really minor, because you will be able to creatively think your way around things instead of being consumed by what you can't control. You can't control the way the kids act. You can't control the way they see you. You can't control the way they speak to you. What you can control is how you react to it. We know this. And if you're doing what I told you to do and you're learning their love language, then you will know how important it is to shut up and listen, and they'll tell you what they want. It is your responsibility to work on your partnership and to understand that parenting is parenting. There is no line in the sand. Parenting is parenting. You are raising young adults to be successful or just happy when they're older. But you don't want to download, you don't want to use a USB cord and connect your old operating system to their mindset, because then you will poison the well. But it's still not your fault. It's not your fault that all this shit that you've gone through happened to you. It's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to fix it. So I ask you, we're episode 98. End of the year's coming. Christmas is on Saturday. I ask you, if you've been listening to this show long enough, have you been doing the things that I said to do? And if you haven't, why? Is it because you don't think it'll work? Look, I don't give you information or ideas and thoughts without first testing it first. I just don't. I never have. I never will. I'll never try to tell you guys you should, try to do this and read that and listen to this without first doing it myself and making sure it works. I'll just never do it. And those of you who think that you can do it on your own, you're wrong. You're wrong. And I know you're wrong because you find yourself back here. So, before we enter this new year, can you be honest with you for one moment and just say, hey, am I doing the things needed in order to better myself? Am I changing the operating system? Can I let go of the fact that the things that have happened are not my fault? Can you do this? And if you can do this, you'll notice that it's going to be baby steps. But these baby steps over time will equal a distance that you will travel within your blended family, your relationship with your kids and your partner. You will see. You will look back at it and go, holy shit, thank God I started. Thank God I started with the baby steps. And that's how it goes, man. There is no quick fix. You cannot solve any of the problems in your blended family right off the bat. You just can't. You have to look at everyone and every situation and every scenario like it's your opportunity to learn, to grow, and to be better. But just remember, stepdads, it's not your fault. It just isn't. Excuse me. So, yeah. You guys can do this. I know you can. I got your back. All right, guys, this was episode 98 of the Professional Stepdad Show. Once again, if you have not, please like, subscribe, share to the show. Follow us on Instagram, Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Anchor, Facebook, theprofessionalstepdad.com. Head over there, take a look. If you find yourself stuck, if you find yourself needing questions answered, please feel free to go to the website and contact me. I am always willing to make an episode about your questions. But remember, stepdads, I can't help, nor can anyone else in your life help if you don't speak and open up. It's on, the ball's in your court. Let's see what you do. All right, guys. Till next episode. Talk to you soon.
Damn right. Even when I've left, I do right by you. I'll be your everything.
Quiet on the set, please. Thank you, everybody.